eliciting techniques I used were observations, diaries, interviews, and videotaping. And as you could see from the very beginning, I was teaching ninth graders. Back in that time, I had 44 students. Okay, all ages, all range of ages were between 12 and 15. They were exposed from sixth grade to ninth grade to English, so their level was basic, but some of the students were really, um, I could say A2 or B1 because some of them had a lot of like input and they were really interested and motivated to learn English. So my population during this research was quite varied. Well, the design of the activities, and I just want to highlight at this point how I just decided to design the whole cycle of the unit and how I implemented a whole task. Okay, the task, the final one, was to make a presentation about a local problem and propose a solution to it. The estimated time to develop the whole unit was around 10 hours, taking into account that weekly we worked only 2 hours a week. Okay, so it was designed like for a half of a period in the school. The communicative competences, as we all know, with the Guide 22, we promote the communicative, the linguistic, and the pragmatic one, and the sociolinguistic as well. Some linguistic features to be worked while my students were presenting. I was gonna be concerned about them to use sequence orders, linking words. Okay, some lexis related to environment, such as footprint, environmental problems. Okay, some discourse analysis markers that I was gonna take into account while they were presenting, as they were presenting something taken from the real life. In the citizenship competence, I need to tell you that I supported these competences from the cartillas of competencias ciudadanas that it is well known by all of the teachers in Colombia. And some of the indicators that I took were I critically analyzed conflicts among groups in my neighborhood, town, or the country. And besides that, I construct, implement, keep, repair agreements between groups. And the way that I was going to assess my student was an ongoing one. Okay, during all the sessions, I was going to be taking marks of whatever they were just doing in terms of advancing towards the final task. So it doesn't mean that I just took into account the final task to really assign a mark in their mark books. Okay, but the final product of the whole thing was the student participating during the whole task and the final presentation with the criteria to show identification of the problem, the proposal to a solution, and obviously spelling well, well, um, well use of the lexis and everything that I was teaching while I was executing the lesson. The data analysis. So we use a technique called triangulation in which we coded all the elicitation techniques and all the data we coded them into categories where students were able just to match or relate some of their opinions from the different instruments. Okay, some of the communicative competences, which I divided into three categories: communicative one and the citizenship one. I just took some samples to bring up to this presentation, which is going to be short because I also want to interact with the audience and see how can I nurture this investigation for further implementation. But I'm going to read this example to you, and it says, could you please give us more time, miss? The group is looking for some slide. So this is a student interaction, like a student asking the teacher how to interact with not only the slides, but also was asking about the time and the way she was doing it. I highlighted here the communicative competences because the student is sociolinguistically effectively using the English language to ask for something. So, besides the English part that I'm going to highlight up to here, I also want to say that students were not only using English as the way to communicate, but also was using formal English, and the level of formality also matches the purpose of the investigation. Okay, some others, as you could see here, this was taken from one of the copies that we designed for the kids. And this one especially shows the whole flow of how a student stated the problem, some possible solution, and also we're proposing a different angle of acting on what they were doing. Okay, and as you could see here, the presentation was about the global warming. Okay, they also were stating some causes that in this case is associated with climate change, the catastrophe and affecting humanity, how the greenhouse effect was affecting everything within the class, and they were analyzing all these aspects in order to produce their own idea about what would be a good problem to solve within their community. Another one here is that I'm showing you the way students were also producing short texts, but in this case, I wanna show you the way I also try to correct the students because I want you to take a whole vision of how the process was carried out. And in this case, I want to read to you a little bit what one of my students wrote while they were producing something to accomplish the task. And it says, Anna's is a business um, management. Okay, as you could see here, there is a problem, but the effectiveness of communication in a way for me as a teacher was positive because the students were producing something. I gotta obviously correct something. I had the duty to correct that. And the feedback was not only provided through something written on the chart or on the paper, but also in the way we were just sharing with the whole class what things could be corrected. Something that is particularly essential for the task base is that you don't only pay attention to what language you're teaching and if the students are doing correctly as long as they are conveying meaning, which is really important for the final purpose, the ultimate purpose of the investigation. And also, I want to just highlight here about the effects of the global warming and the greenhouse effect in some of the causes. So my students were far beyond understanding not only a little bit of the language in English, but also the whole process about the global warming as a phenomena, the effects, the possible causes, and they were also proposing how to solve the problem at the end. Okay, some other evidences of citizenship, and and I need to say this because I don't want you to think this is the ultimate purpose to really promote good Colombian citizens, because as long as you know it is a process, it also takes a lot of time to really change the mindset of my students, which didn't happen in one single lesson. Okay, it took several lessons, and the outcomes reported in this presentation are a real process taken strictly from classes and from evidences of students' behavior within the English classes. So there is something here that I want you to pay attention to. There was here T means teacher and Andrea is the student. All of those names are nicknames, are not real names for safety and security of the student. But I want you to look at the interaction, and it says here, animals are moving to new houses or to new areas. Muy bien, eso es uno. Otro efecto, another effect. And Andrea replied, due to the earth heating, sea level are rising. People have to move away from the coast. And now, why am I highlighting this as something important? Because the students were conscious of the effect in what is right to do for humans if you face a problem. And that's something that I wanted to highlight here. Another one is, nadie dice gracias, nadie le dice gracias a la profe por la copia. And then students reply all in one single voice. Gracias, teacher. And then at the end, somebody again said, denle las gracias a somebody who was just delivering or handing in all the copies because she was collaborating or the person was collaborating at that moment. But students didn't have the chance to say thank you to that person as well. Why? Because the students take for granted that the services given at the school, they need to be like they are all given for them for free because they have the right to do what they just need to get for free, which is like a poor way of thinking. That's something that I really wanted to just erase from my students' memory. Like single actions like saying thank you, single actions like saying welcome, goodbye, hello. Okay, that was something important for me to promote. Okay, the discussion in motivation and learning, I'm going to just point out two different things. The motivation of my students for learning will increase, and the learning of the English language will also better. This student, they got to be the seniors of 2018, and these kids were really doing better at the ICFES test when they were just taking this. And something that was like accomplished in general terms was that students really learned English in a way that was intentionally driven for the case of the study, but they were also better at behave at school behavior. The way they wanted to at the end interact among themselves regarding their opinions were really better than any other interactions while I was teaching. Some of the conclusions I'm going to share with you, and in terms of general comments, is that citizenship and communicative competences were fostered using the task-based approach, but the role of the task-based approach in the unit to let learners to experience several situations like identifying the problem, proposing a solution, interaction with classmates and teachers, okay, and people from the community were really effective. How those two aspects can deal together, it would also depend on how the teacher really proceeds in the class. So it means that the teaching practical of the teacher is key and crucial to really promote both competences in one single class. And you might be thinking, oh, no, all teachers are really promoting communicative competences because they teach reading or English or grammar in other subject areas. You might think of that. But in reality, it does not happen in the way that task-based approach really proposes to the students, like reading or guiding the students through steps in which they really experience what real learning is. And something that could be explicitly stated while this project was carried out is that students had the chance to be intentionally taught citizenship competences. How? We wanted to emphasize in two different values, which were responsibility and respect. And those two were really important for my student and for my community to improve because those two are weaknesses among the school community. Sometimes the students are not responsible enough. They don't want to hand in homework or assignments. They are always kind of escaping from any kind of duty. They want to just become, unfortunately, the best student because they want to be popular by having negative interactions with the school, even with the school principals or the school board, but also their classmates. And finally, it was perceived that most of learners were capable to adjust to rules proposed for the harmony of the class and demonstrate that they could get into an agreement to turn in a requested product. In these terms, I also want to say that students were given a set of rules. And I think in most of the schools, we give students rules that they need to abide. But it doesn't really happen in the way that we normally observed, because rules are just stated, but they are not really assessed in practical terms, which was one of the proposals and the main principles of this research study. And finally, students show certain commitment to foster values. And as I said before, the main ones that we wanted to highlight because of the school community needs were respect and responsibility. So up to now, I would like to see if you have questions or something you want to share, something you want to know specifically from the study. That would be nice to listen from the audience.